My name's Mike. 42 now. Run my own small electrical contracting business. Wasn't always this way. Grew up rough. Dad took off. Mom worked 3 jobs. Barely scraped by. College? That was a fantasy. Like unicorns or affordable health care. I went straight into trade school after high school. Busted my ass learning the ropes. Worked grueling hours for other guys for years before finally going out on my own about 10 years ago. It's not glamorous work. Crawling through attics in July, dealing with inspectors, chasing payments, but it's honest, and it paid the bills. More importantly, it felt like mine, something I built. That drive? It all came from one place, my son Jake. He's 17 now, smart as a whip, got this quiet determination about him. Headed into his senior year. Seeing the potential he had, that became my obsession. I wanted him to have the choices I never did. College wasn't going to be a maybe for him. It was going to be a definite. Whatever school he got into, whatever path he chose, I swore to myself money wouldn't be the thing holding him back. That's where Linda came in. Or where I thought she came in. We met maybe 12 years ago. I was doing a rewire job at the accounting firm where she worked as an office manager. She was smart, organized, had this calm presence that just settled me. A few years older than me. Maybe divorced once before? She was vague about her past, especially about the guy before me. Rick. Mentioned him once or twice early on as a mistake. Charismatic but unreliable, always chasing some scheme. Said she was done with that kind of drama. Wanted stability. Wanted me. And God, did I fall for it. For a guy who never really had a stable family life. Linda felt like coming home. She seemed to understand my drive, my long hours. She was meticulous with household budgets, managed the bills. When Jake was born, she was an amazing mom, or so it seemed. We weren't rich, but we were comfortable. We bought a small starter house in a decent neighborhood. We drove sensible used cars. We didn't take fancy vacations. Every spare penny, every overtime hour I worked, went into 2 places, the business and Jake's college fund. That fund, it became like a sacred thing. We opened it when Jake was maybe 2 years old, a dedicated 529 account. We agreed on a monthly contribution, automatically transferred. I threw in extra whenever I had a good month. Linda managed account paperwork. Got the statements online. Easier that way, honey, she'd said early on. I'm better with this stuff. And I believed her. Trusted her completely. Why wouldn't I? We were partners. Building this future for Jake, together. We'd talk about him going off to college. How proud we'd be. It was our shared dream. The cornerstone of everything I worked for. Or so I thought. Looking back now, were there tiny hairline fractures in the foundation? Yeah, hindsight's a cruel bastard. Maybe Linda sometimes sighed a little too deeply when looking at her friend Karen's new luxury SUV. Maybe she occasionally made comments about how nice it would be to travel now, instead of saving everything for someday. Maybe she sometimes seemed restless, distracted, especially after reconnecting with some old college friends on Facebook a couple years back. Friends who knew Rick, her ex. But I dismissed it. Everyone gets stressed. Everyone sometimes wishes they had more money. Marriage isn't a fairy tale. And Linda, she always seemed committed to plan. To Jake. To us. She was the organized one, the sensible one. My rock. God, how wrong I was. The real unease started subtly, maybe a year and a half ago. It wasn't one big thing, more like static on the radio. Little crackles of weirdness interrupting the familiar tune of our lives. Linda started becoming more guarded with her phone and laptop. Always had been reasonably private, which was fine. But suddenly screens were angled away. Laptop snapped shut when I walked into the room. Passwords seemed to change more frequently. When I casually asked if everything was okay, she'd brush it off. Just work stuff. Try and keep spam emails down. Plausible deniability. Then came the money stuff. Small things, at first. She'd mentioned needing cash for something unexpected. A minor car repair I hadn't heard about, helping her sister out with a bill, even though her sister usually seemed fine financially. I didn't question it much initially. We had a joint household account for bills and daily expenses, separate from the business account, and, critically, separate from Jake's inviolable college fund. If she needed a couple hundred extra, I figured she knew the budget, but it became more frequent. Her explanations vaguer. Just unexpected costs this month. Trying out new budgeting app. It's confusing. Sometimes, I'd notice the joint account lower than expected just before payday. A little knot of anxiety would tighten in my gut. Were we spending too much? Was my business income fluctuating more than I realized? I tried talking to her about it. Gently. Hey, honey, notice the checking is a bit low. Everything okay? Do we have some big bills I forgot about? Instant defensiveness. What? Are you checking up on me now, Mike? You think I'm irresponsible? No, not at all. Just trying to keep track, you know? Maybe we need to readjust the budget. I handle the budget, remember? she'd say sharply. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Then maybe soften it with a kiss. Just a tight month. Stop stressing. And I would, because arguing about money sucked. Because I trusted her. Because maybe I was being paranoid, letting my own childhood insecurities about money bubble up. Easier to believe her explanation, even if it didn't quite sit right. Easier to just work a few extra hours to cover the mysterious shortfall. Around the same time, she got weird about the college fund mail. The quarterly statements used to come paper, sit on the kitchen counter. Then she switched everything to online. Saves paper. Less clutter, she'd said brightly. Okay, made sense. But when I asked for the login details, so I could check the balance myself sometime, she got weirdly evasive. Oh, I have it saved somewhere, I'll find it. It's bookmarked on my laptop. Remind me later. But later never came. If I pressed, she'd get irritated again. Mike, I told you I handle it. It's fine. The balance looks great. It's growing nicely. Stop micromanaging. That gut feeling. The static got louder. Why wouldn't she just give me the login? We both contributed, or so I thought. It was Jake's money. It wasn't a secret. Unless there was something she didn't want me to see. No. Stop it, Mike. That's crazy. This is Linda, your wife, Jake's mom. She wouldn't touch that money. Ever. It's sacred. You're just being paranoid because of your own past. Trust her. I remember having that internal argument almost daily for months. Ignoring the static. Focusing on work, on Jake's upcoming college tours, on the dream. Telling myself the foundation was solid. Even as I felt the floorboards creak beneath my feet. Then came the phone calls. Hushed conversations she'd taken in the other room or out on the back porch. If I walked in, she'd end them abruptly. Just my sister. Just Karen from work. But her expression would be stressed, sometimes tearful. I asked if everything was okay with her sister. Yeah, fine, just family drama, she'd say vaguely. The static intensified. Who was she really talking to? Why the secrecy? Why the stress? My mind kept supplying innocent explanations. Work pressure, friend troubles, family issues she didn't want to burden me with. Anything but the truth I wasn't ready to face. Jake was deep into college application season. Senior year. Stress levels were high for everyone. We were navigating financial aid forms, scholarship essays, campus visit schedules. It was exciting, terrifying, and expensive just thinking about it. One Saturday morning, we were working on the FAFSA online. It required detailed financial information, including balances of investment accounts like the 529 college fund. Okay, need the latest statement balance for Jake's college account. I said, poised over the keyboard. Linda, sitting beside me, seemed to freeze for a fraction of a second. Oh, right, she said, maybe a little too quickly. Let me pull up online. Give me a sec. She went to her laptop in the other room. I heard her typing, then silence. Then more typing. A muffled curse word. More silence. Having trouble logging in? I called out after a few minutes. No, just slow internet. She called back, her voice strained. Almost got it. Another 5 minutes passed. Jake was getting impatient. I was getting suspicious again. That static in my gut was practically buzzing now. Linda, you okay in there? I got up and walked toward the office doorway. She was sitting at her desk, staring intently at the screen, chewing on her lower lip. She jumped when she saw me. Got it, she said brightly, quickly minimizing whatever window she had opened and pulling up a different browser tab. See? Told you. Balance looks healthy. She pointed vaguely at a number on a generic-looking financial website summary page, not the actual 529 portal I recognized. Healthy, I repeated, frowning. That number seemed lower than I expected. Significantly lower, considering my contributions and market growth over 15-plus years. Can you pull up the actual account statement? The transaction history? FAFSA might need details. Oh, it's such a pain to navigate their site, she deflected quickly. This summary page has the official balance. That's all they need. Let's just use this. She tried to steer me back to the FAFSA form, but the alarm bells were deafening now. Her evasiveness, the different website, the lower than expected number. Something was fundamentally wrong. No, I said firmly. Let me see the actual account. What's the login? Mike, I told you I have it saved somewhere. Linda, I interrupted, my voice cold. Give me the login. Now. Or I called the 529 plan administrators myself and reset it using my social security number. Her face went pale. She knew I could do that. Knew I was serious. She stared at me for a long moment, cornered. Then, muttering under her breath, she slowly typed in the web address for the official 529 portal. Her fingers trembled as she entered the username, then paused over the password. I think I changed it recently, she stammered. Let me try. She typed something. Login failed. Typed something else. Login failed. Forgot your password? I asked icily. Maybe, she whispered, not meeting my eyes. Fine. I pulled out my own phone. Started navigating to the sites. Forgot password link. Started entering my information. Social security number, date of birth. Security questions I had set up years ago when we first opened the account. Mike, don't, she suddenly cried out, reaching for my phone. Wait. Okay, I remember. She quickly typed a password into her laptop. This time it worked. The account summary page loaded, and the world stopped. The balance displayed wasn't just lower than I expected. It was devastatingly low. Like, first year of saving low. All the years of sacrifice, the overtime, the skipped vacations, gone. Vanished. My breath hitched. I felt dizzy, like the room was tilting. What the hell is this? I whispered, pointing a shaking finger at the screen. Where's the money, Linda? Where's Jake's college fund? She wouldn't look at me, stared fixedly at the screen, chewing her lip again. There were some bad investments, the market. She mumbled. Bullshit. The word ripped out of me. This account is in conservative index funds. It doesn't just evaporate. Show me the transaction history. My voice was rising, shaking. With trembling hands, she clicked the link. The history loaded. Page after page. Withdrawals. Transfers. Not investments gone bad. Outgoing transfers. Regular transfers. Starting small about 18 months ago, then getting bigger, more frequent. Thousands of dollars at a time. Sent via electronic transfer to an external bank account I didn't recognize. An account number that meant nothing to me. Except, I scrolled back through the history, looking at the dates. They clustered. Around holidays. Around her birthday. Around time she'd mentioned needing extra help. And then a larger transfer about 6 months ago, right around the time she claimed she needed money for a major and strangely undocumented car repair. And another huge one just 3 months back. My blood ran cold. I looked at the receiving account details again, though only partial numbers were visible. Then I looked at Linda. Her face was ashen. Tears were silently streaming down her cheeks. She knew I knew, or at least knew I was seeing the devastation. Who, Linda? I asked, my voice dangerously quiet now. Who did you send Jake's future to? She just shook her head, sobbing. I can't. Was it him? I pressed, the name feeling like poison on my tongue. Was it Rick, your mistake ex? The one you swore was out of your life. She flinched, didn't deny it, just kept sobbing, shoulders shaking. Confirmation. Cold, sickening confirmation. She had systematically drained our son's college fund, the fund I poured my blood, sweat, and tears into for 15 years, and sent it to her deadbeat ex-boyfriend. I stumbled back from the desk, needing support, leaning against the doorframe. Nausea washed over me in a sickening wave. My wife, the woman I trusted implicitly, hadn't just betrayed me. She had betrayed our son, stolen his future. For him, I couldn't breathe, couldn't think, just stared at her, this stranger sitting at the desk, weeping over the ruins of our life she had single-handedly created. The static wasn't static anymore. It was a deafening roar of my entire world collapsing. The silence in the office stretched, thick and suffocating, broken only by Linda's quiet, pathetic sobs. I just stood there, leaning against the doorframe, trying to process the sheer magnitude of the betrayal. It wasn't just the money, though God, the money hurt, representing years of sacrifice. It was a lie, the years of quiet deception. Every time she'd supposedly managed the account, every time she'd assured me it was growing nicely, every time she'd handled the mail, it was all performance. While I was working overtime, fixing other people's problems, she was systematically funneling our son's future into the hands of the guy she claimed was a mistake. Why Linda? The word was barely a whisper, raw, torn from my throat. Why, Linda? For him? For Rick? The guy who you said ruined your 20s. She looked up then, tears streaming, but her eyes held a flicker of something other than sorrow. Defensiveness. Justification. You don't understand, she choked out. He needed help, Mike. Real help. He lost his job. He was about to be evicted. He was desperate. He promised he'd pay it back. Pay it back. I laughed, a harsh, broken sound. Rick? Pay back tens, maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars? Are you insane? He couldn't hold down a job for 6 months straight when you were with him. And you believed him? He changed, she insisted, her voice rising slightly. People change. He hit rock bottom. He needed a second chance. Someone had to help him. And that someone had to be you, using our son's college fund. My own voice rose, shaking with disbelief and rage. Did you even think about Jake? About the sacrifices I made? The extra shifts, the skipped vacations, driving that 15-year-old truck, so we could save every penny for him. Of course I thought about Jake, she cried, shifting seamlessly into wounded mother mode. That's why I had to help Rick. If he ended up homeless, on the streets, what kind of example is that? I was trying to fix things. For everyone. The twisting logic. The attempt to frame stealing her son's future as some kind of noble act. It was breathtakingly narcissistic. Fix things? I repeated incredulously. By destroying Jake's chance at college? By betraying my trust? By lying to me every single day for God knows how long? I didn't want to lie, she sobbed, playing the victim card hard now. It tore me up inside. But you wouldn't have understood. You always hated Rick. You have just said no, judge me. Damn right I would have said no. I yelled back. It wasn't your money to give. It wasn't our money. It was Jake's. For his education. The one thing I swore he'd have that I never did. See, she pointed a trembling finger at me. That's why I couldn't tell you. You're already yelling. You're making me feel attacked. Gaslighting. Pure, textbook gaslighting. Trying to make my reaction to her betrayal the problem. Attacked. I felt a dangerous calm descend the eye of a storm. You feel attacked? Linda, you systematically drained hundreds of thousands of dollars meant for our son and sent it to your ex-boyfriend. You lied to me for possibly years. You looked me in the eye and pretended everything was fine while you were stabbing me, stabbing Jake in the back. And you feel attacked. I stepped away from the doorframe, walked closer to the desk, picked up the printed statement showing the outgoing transfers. How much, Linda? How much did you give him? She flinched, looking away. I don't know exactly. Bullshit, I said flatly. You managed this account meticulously when it came to contributions. You knew down to the penny. How much did you steal from your own son? She mumbled something incoherent. Louder, I demanded. She looked up then, and the tears were gone, replaced by defiance, resentment. The mask was slipping. Maybe around 200,000? Maybe a bit more? What does it matter? It's gone. $200,000. Gone. Just like that. Sent to Rick. My knees felt weak. I actually had to grab the back of the chair to steady myself. And why? I whispered, needing to understand the depths of this insanity. Just because he asked? Because he spun some sob story. She hesitated, then lifted her chin, a flicker of something pride in her eyes. He needed it, she said, her voice stronger now. And he appreciates me. He sees me, not just as Jake's mom or the budget manager. He remembers who I was, who I am. And there it was, the ugly, pathetic truth. It wasn't just about helping Rick. It was about her ego, her unresolved feelings, her resentment of our quiet, hard-working life, her belief that maybe she'd settle for average Mike when charismatic. Disastrous Rick still held some kind of toxic allure. She hadn't just sent him money. She'd sent him our future as some kind of offering. So, I said slowly, the cold clarity spreading through me, all those late nights, the stress phone calls, that wasn't work, was it? That was Rick. She didn't answer, just looked away again. Confirmation enough. Are you sleeping with him again, Linda? A tiny, almost imperceptible flinch. Then she squared her shoulders. Maybe, she said defiantly. Maybe I am. What are you going to do about it? The final mask dropped. No more tears. No more justifications. Just raw, ugly entitlement and defiance. She wasn't sorry. She wasn't ashamed. She felt justified. She felt dared. Something inside me just broke. Not into sadness this time. Into pieces too sharp to hold. I looked at her, this woman I had loved, trusted, built my life around, and saw a complete stranger. A cold, selfish user who would sacrifice her own child's future on the altar of her own ego and nostalgia for a toxic past. Get out, I said, my voice devoid of all emotion now. Just flat. Empty. What? She looked genuinely surprised, maybe even offended. Get out of my house. Pack your bags. Now. You can't kick me out, she sputtered. This is my house too. Half of everything. No. I cut her off. Half of what's left. Which, thanks to you, isn't much. And this house. I gestured around the modest living room. Bought with my sweat, mostly paid for by my business, while you're funneling Jake's future away. You think any judge is going to give you half after learning about the fraud? About the theft from a child's education fund? Get out, Linda. Before I call the police and show them these statements. The mention of police, of fraud, finally seemed to penetrate her bubble of entitlement. Fear flashed in her eyes again. Real fear this time. She looked wildly around the room, maybe realizing the implications, the potential legal jeopardy. She opened her mouth, then closed it. Then, with a final glare filled with pure hatred, she turned and stormed out of the office. I heard her upstairs, throwing things into bags, slamming drawers. I just stood there, staring at the computer screen, at the devastating transaction history. Jake's future, stolen. My marriage, a lie. My trust, annihilated. The silence of the house felt heavier than ever before, filled only by the sound of my own ragged breathing and the distant, angry sounds of my wife packing to leave the life she had systematically destroyed. The hour it took Linda to pack felt like a lifetime. There was no more shouting, just the angry, percussive sounds of drawers slamming, closet doors banging, the muffled thud of suitcases being dragged across the floor. I stayed downstairs, numbly making coffee I didn't drink, staring out the kitchen window at the backyard Jake used to play in. Every normal object felt alien, tainted. When she finally came downstairs, dragging 2 large suitcases, her face was blotchy, eyes red-rimmed but hard. She didn't look at me, just walked to the front door, fumbled with the lock, and wrenched it open. "My lawyer will be in touch," she spat without turning around, then slammed the door behind her. Silence. Absolute, deafening silence. It pressed in on me, heavier than any noise. I stood there for a long time. Then, slowly, I walked back to the office, looked at the computer screen again, at the proof of her betrayal, and the dam finally broke. Not rage this time, just grief. Deep, soul-crushing grief for the life I thought I had, for the woman I thought I loved, for the future she had stolen from our son. I sank into the chair and just let it wash over me. The days that followed were a blur of lawyers, paperwork, and telling Jake. God, telling Jake. He was 17, smart, knew something was wrong the moment he saw my face, saw his mom's stuff gone. I didn't sugarcoat it, didn't blame her entirely, didn't make excuses, just laid out the basic facts. Mom made some very bad choices with money meant for his future, choices involving someone from her past, and we wouldn't be together anymore. He was quiet, stunned, then angry, not just at her, but maybe a little at me too, for not seeing it, not stopping it. That hurt, but I understood it. His future felt uncertain now, his family unit destroyed. We talked for hours, cried together. It was the hardest conversation of my life. The legal side was messy but clear-cut. Maria, my lawyer, was a shark. We had the bank statements showing the systematic transfers. We had Jake's 529 documentation, proving the funds were designated for him. We had affidavits from me detailing the sacrifices made for that fund. Linda's lawyer tried to argue it was marital property she was entitled to manage, that Rick would pay it back, that it was a temporary loan. Maria shredded those arguments. The intent, the scale, the deception, the specific designation of the 529 for a minor's education. It painted a clear picture of fraud and breach of trust. We filed police reports. The amount involved potentially pushed it into felony territory. Linda was investigated. I don't know all the details. Part of me didn't want to know, but faced with potential criminal charges on top of the divorce, she quickly agreed to a settlement that was utterly devastating for her. She waived all claim to the house, which I had to refinance solely in my name, taking on more debt, waived any claim to my business or retirement funds, and most importantly, signed a legally binding agreement acknowledging the amount taken from Jake's fund as a debt she owed, with a stringent repayment plan based on any future income she earned, wage garnishment if necessary. Criminal charges were likely held in abeyance pending her adherence to the repayment plan, but the threat remained. She walked away with basically nothing but her clothes, her car, which was in her name, and a mountain of debt acknowledged in court. Did we get the money back? Not really. Rick, unsurprisingly, vanished once lawyers got involved and the money dried up. He was never legally obligated anyway. The theft was Linda's. The repayment plan means maybe someday Jake will see some of that money back, but likely not all, and certainly not in time for the bulk of his college costs. The house felt empty, haunted. Jake, and I rattled around in it. He retreated into schoolwork and soccer. I threw myself into my business, working insane hours, partly to rebuild financially, mostly to avoid thinking. Friends rallied around, especially the guys from my trade network. Offered support, beers, distractions. It helped, but the core wound remained. How could I have been so blind? How could she have done that, not just to me, but to her own son? It's been 3 years now. 3 long, hard years. The divorce is final. Linda is, somewhere, working a low-wage job, I hear, struggling to make the court-ordered restitution payments. We have zero contact, except through lawyers when necessary. She lost custody rights during the criminal investigation phase due to the severity of the fraud and emotional impact on Jake. Supervised visitation was offered later, but Jake, now 20 and in college, has shown zero interest. He sees her actions as the ultimate betrayal, and honestly, I can't blame him. Jake, he's incredible. He worked his ass off senior year, got scholarships, grants, took out some loans. He's at a great state university, studying engineering. Is it the debt-free ride I dreamed of for him? No. Linda's actions put a huge dent in that. I work constantly, contribute everything I can beyond the basics, try to minimize his loan burden. We talk honestly about finances, about the future. He's angry about what his mother did, but he's not letting it define him. He's resilient, more of a man at 20 than Rick ever was. Or I was at that age. Seeing him thrive despite her, that's my fuel now. Me? I sold the house last year. Too many ghosts. Bought Bought a smaller place, just enough room for me and for Jake when he's home. My business is doing well. I work hard, maybe too hard, but it feels good to build something solid again, something mine. Therapy helped me unpack the self-blame, understand the manipulation, start to forgive myself for being trusting. Forgiving her? That's a different story. Maybe someday, maybe never. Right now, indifference feels healthier than hate. Trust is still a huge issue. I haven't dated. The thought of letting someone in that close again, it feels terrifying. Maybe someday. For now, my focus is work, Jake, rebuilding my savings for my retirement this time, and finding peace and quiet. Some nights, the anger or the sadness still washes over me. The sheer audacity of her betrayal, the casual cruelty, it leaves scars. But then I look at Jake's latest text message, excited about an internship opportunity. I think about the solid business I've built. I remember the guys who had my back. And I know she didn't destroy me. She tried. God, she tried, but she failed. Rebuilding takes time, maybe a lifetime. But the foundation I'm laying now, it's built on hard truths, hard lessons, and the knowledge that I survived the worst. And that's a start, a damn good start. Thank you for listening. If you love stories as much as I do, hit that subscribe button and join me for the next chapter.